Do you know when something inside you just breaks? When a random phrase pulls the ground out from under your feet? That's how it all started. I was sitting in silence, as I always do at the end of the afternoon, with my warm tea in my hands and my feet covered by that blanket that had been with me for years. The sun was shining through the window, tinting everything golden. It was my moment of refuge, a simple but precious ritual, a moment in which the house seemed to breathe along with me. But that day, something changed. The silence of the house was torn by a sentence, cold, calculated. Sell her jewelry before she notices. It wasn't a stranger saying this. It was my daughter, my own daughter. In that instant, everything stopped. My heart, my breathing, my confidence. It wasn't just a betrayal. It was as if a part of me had been ripped away, right there, in the room where I had so often told her stories, cuddled her, and prepared her snacks when she was little. Every memory turned to dust. Maybe you've already felt something similar. That feeling that, over time, we become invisible inside our own home. Useful when convenient, a nuisance when not. But what I discovered from there goes far beyond the pain. It was a path of reunion, a rebirth. And if you have ever loved too much and been left aside, I invite you to stay with me until the end of this story. It may very well be yours too. That day, there was no scandal. There was no shouting, just silence. A silence full of meaning. I got up slowly, went up to my room, and opened the safe that held more than just jewelry. It held pieces of my history. Each earring, each ring, each brooch, they all had a name, a moment, a feeling. It was the wedding present, the necklace I received when my granddaughter was born, the ring my husband put on my finger the day we overcame a great financial difficulty. That was not wealth. It was memory. And then, I understood. They weren't just trying to steal things from me. They were trying to erase who I am. Without warning, I grabbed my bag and left. Nobody noticed. I walked through the streets slowly, like someone walking on shrapnel. But there, inside me, a decision was growing. I went to my lawyer's office, and there I created a trust fund. Simple, discreet, and powerful. I put everything in my name, legally, without the need for confrontation. I did not exclude my daughter out of hatred. I clearly deleted it. I needed to protect myself, protect what I had built. And if there's one thing I've learned over time, it's that dignity can also be guaranteed in writing. There, in front of that lawyer, I felt like I was coming back to myself. It was as if, for the first time in a long time, I was taking control of my own story. If this story has touched you so far, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. I really want to know if you've ever been through something similar, or if you know someone who needs to hear this. Here, every story is a mirror, and your voice matters. Over time, things only got worse. Attention turned to contempt. Affection turned into criticism. The laughter with the grandchildren disappeared, replaced by hurried glances and phrases that cut like a razor. "You're being too sensitive, Mom." That kind of phrase that pretends to be careful, but comes with poison. I started to feel like a burden, an extra in the story I helped write. That's when I understood. I didn't have to accept it anymore. Without scandal, without goodbyes, I packed my things and left. A small apartment above a flower shop became my new home. There, for the first time in years, I breathed without apology. The flower shop clerk brought me a cornmeal cake on the first day. She said it was nice to have company upstairs. I smiled, and I realized that even in the midst of grief, life still offered me kindness. In fact, it's these little niceties that save us. A smile, a sincere good morning, a make yourself at home, said from the heart. Of course, loneliness came too. But she was honest. And little by little, I filled this new space with pieces of myself. Old photos, paintings that had been stored for decades, books that I wanted to reread. And a box. A box that I myself had forgotten. It was while tidying up this box that I found a letter from my late husband. Hidden, written with love, it said that everything, the jewelry, the house, the savings, were in my name. He saw me, he knew, and he protected me, even after he left. I cried, but not out of sadness. I cried with relief. It was as if he had given me his hand again. And with this discovery, something inside me was reorganized. I realized that I was never weak. I was just in the dark. And how common it is for us to get used to this darkness, right? We gradually fade away, in the name of peace, in the name of love, until we forget ourselves. But that day, with that letter in my hands, I was rekindled. Since then, I've started a new list. No shopping. A list of me. I wrote, open new account, sign up for the watercolor class, stop apologizing for existing, wearing my favorite dress without needing an occasion, say no without guilt, dancing alone around the room to the sound of Elis Regina, learn how to make bread, calling a friend for no reason. And I crossed them off, one by one. I met new people, rekindled old friendships, and bought a pink lipstick that I hadn't used in years. I started drinking coffee while watching the movement on the street, listening to life going on outside, and finally feeling that I was part of it. One day, I looked in the mirror and saw something I hadn't seen in a long time. Myself, whole, no fear, with a sparkle in the eyes and strength in the soul. And so, I went back to the flower shop. I bought flowers for myself. Simple, white, peace lilies. And for the first time, I understood the meaning of that name. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of self-love. Maybe the world around me hasn't changed, but I changed. And honestly, that's enough. Now I ask you, how many times have you kept quiet to avoid conflict? How many times have you accepted crumbs thinking it was love? How many times have you put on the strong cape while crying alone? This story is mine, but it can be yours too. Life doesn't end when we get hurt. It starts again when we decide to heal. And even if it hurts, healing is also an act of courage. So, take your jewelry out of the safe too. But above all, take your courage out of the bottom of the drawer. And if this story really touched you, leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to the channel. Because here, every week, we talk about starting over with dignity. And you are always welcome on this new journey.